Welcome to Intermediate Hebrew. This is week 6. We ran a little long in the last class, so I apologize if there was some, this is starting just a hair late. So this week, we are going to talk about prepositions. And as always, the notes for this class and all past classes can be found at theregathering.com/page/PFT Hebrew 2. Okay, PFT Hebrew 1 is the beginner class, Hebrew 2 is the intermediate class. And the past classes can be found recorded on YouTube at the Passion for Truth video channel. All right. Okay, so prepositions. Preposition in Hebrew is just like a preposition in any other language, but you may not know what a preposition means. I didn't until I studied Hebrew. Preposition is, it's a little difficult to define, but it's basically a word that indicates direction. Okay, so a word like to, from, or relation, really. Under, over, between, next to would be a prepositional phrase. Okay, anything like this, any word of this nature would be a preposition. Okay, describes the relation of one word to another. Okay, and there are many more prepositions than these. And if you look up a preposition in a dictionary, you will find it notated like this. You'll find a mem, 2 little hash marks, and then a yod. Okay, so remember, if you look up a noun, if it's a masculine noun, you'll find a small zayin written next to it. A feminine noun, you'll find a small nun written next to it, standing for masculine and feminine. Okay, zachar and nekeva. Adjectives, you'll find a small tav, standing for toar, which means an adjective. A preposition, you'll find mem, this little double hash mark, and then a yod. And this stands for the phrase milat yachas. You don't need to know this in particular, just be aware of what this little mem yod means. Milat yachas means a word of relation. Milat is word, and yachas means relation. Okay? So a preposition is a word of relation. Okay? So I'm going to give 5 prepositions, and we're going to use them in some sentences. And they're listed on your sheet. I'll write them up here too. We've got ayin lamed with a patach under the ayin. This is pronounced al. Al. And al can mean on or over, on top of. Okay, the idea is something. If we have a house here, and a man on the house, okay, this is the idea of al. Okay, on top of. Okay, now he could be levitating over the house, he could be standing directly on the house, as long as he's vertically above it. He is al the house. Yes? Okay? And the opposite, if you will, of al would be tachat, which means under. Okay? Tav, chet, tav. Tachat is under. I won't draw a picture of a man under a house, but perhaps under a tree. Okay, this is tachat, beneath. Okay. Now, unlike adjectives, prepositions do not need to match the gender or number of anything. Okay, prepositions are what they are, and they stay the same all the time. Okay, so all is always all, tachat is always tachat. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's applying to a masculine or feminine noun, it doesn't matter if it's applying to a singular or plural, they remain the same. Okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and put these into use. Okay, so here we go. Ha'ish al habayit. Okay, ish is man, and we're adding the he being the definite article, the word the in front of man. So I'll get that hyphen out of there. Okay, so we've got the man. Actually, I'll go ahead and write this out in English, left to right down here. Okay, we're starting with the man. Remember that is invisible in Hebrew. There is no is, so we have to insert it from context. Okay, so we wouldn't say the man on, but the man is on. Bayit is a house, and the he in front gives the definite article. So this entire sentence is the man is on the house. Okay, so here's it in a Fiddler on the Roof looking form. Okay. Word order is important with prepositions. Okay, they do relate to words, so they need to be between the two words that they're relating to each other. Okay. So word order is significant here. And so yes, unlike subject and verb, which can be in any order, prepositions do need to be in a particular order in order to make sense. Okay, we could not put this all anywhere else in this sentence and have it make sense. Although if we reversed to bayit in ish, that would be an unfortunate situation for the man. Okay. I won't draw that, but you get the idea. Okay. All right. How about tachat? And this time, let's use a woman. Okay. So ha'isha. Tachat. Okay, the woman is under, and let's put her under the tree. Ha'etz. Okay, ha'isha tachat ha'etz. The woman is under the tree. Okay. This well-dressed woman here is happily under the tree. Okay. So again, tachat does not change because it's a woman instead of a man. Prepositions remain the same. Okay? Any questions about the usage of these thus far? Okay. So we've got al, which is on top of, tachat, which is underneath. And I will mention these words have metaphorical meanings as well. You'll see them used in other senses than literally being on top of or underneath. I'm not going to go into those right now. I'm just going to use them so that you can use them in a sentence. But in the scriptures, you'll find a lot of metaphorical uses of these phrases. Okay, where literally being on top of whatever it's talking about makes no sense at all. It's a phrase, an idiomatic phrase. Okay, but it does. Its literal meaning is to be on top of. Yeah, it's actually. It's used. It's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. On top of all that, we can, in our mind, we can picture this image of, problems or whatever being shoveled on top of somebody, but literally that doesn't make any sense. Okay. But we understand kind of how it functions. Hebrew, it can even mean concerning. Okay, so in the sense that we use the word about, it can mean that as well. But for our purposes right now, it's just going to mean literally on top of. Okay, upon. All right, so that's al and tachat, upon and beneath, or above and beneath. All right. Okay, our next pair of opposites, if you will. This is Aleph Lamed with a segol under the Aleph, pronounced El. And El means toward. Not to be confused with Aleph Lamed with a Tzera under the Aleph. Now you'll hear this also pronounced El, although I would pronounce it Ale for the long A of the Tzera. And El is a short form of Elohim. Okay, so El would mean God. Now in context, it'll be pretty obvious which one of these is intended, but just to be aware that they're both basically spelled the same way. Okay? But this El is the preposition toward. Okay? And a mem with a chirik, followed by a final nun. Min. Okay? Min means from. All right? So toward and from. Or, well, it depends what you're going toward and what you're going from. So, Ha'ish, the man. Ba is coming. Okay, remember Ba from a few weeks ago. Okay, is coming. Okay, so the man is coming. El Habayit. So yes, the man is coming to the house or toward the house. So here's our man, here's our house, and the direction of motion. Okay? I'm sorry, you're quite right. This should be a segol. Thank you for the correction. Yes, no, that wouldn't make any sense. No, this is the man is coming toward El, the house. Yes, good catch. Well, yes, in fact, the phrase Bethel or Beit El means house of God, where Jacob had his dream. So yes, ha'ish ba el habayit, or we could say ba ha'ish el habayit, since the subject and the verb can be in either order. Okay, but the el definitely must go between. Ish must be before, and bayit must be after, because otherwise it's the house is coming toward the man, and that's a bad thing. So, okay. Yeah. Okay, so now let's use mean. All right, so ha'ish ba, the man is coming. Mean, habayit. Okay, so the man is coming from the house. So here's our poorly constructed house, and the man walking in the opposite direction. All right, so pretty straightforward. Toward, from, above, beneath. Okay? So el and min, toward and from, al and tachat, above and below. And you'll notice I'm using multiple terms, above, on top of, upon. It's because you can use any of those in translation. And they all mean basically the same thing, below, underneath. Okay, and they'll be used in every one of those senses in the Hebrew. Okay, so I'm not just being wishy-washy about it. I'm using those on purpose to kind of illustrate that you're going to find all of those translations for these words. The important thing is the relation, as I mentioned. All right. And our final preposition for today is spelled kaf with a shva, mem, vav with a cholam. So this is pronounced kemo. Kemo. And kemo means like. Kemo means like in the sense of similar to or as. Okay. So, if we were to say, trying to think of something using the vocabulary we already have that's not insulting. Let's see, houses like, maybe I'll just introduce a new word. Yeah. Let's say, let's use a sort of a Hebrew idiom. Let's talk about a man, Adam. Okay. Adam. Let's suppose Adam is a tall, strong man. We could say Adam kemo. Okay, Adam is like eitz, a tree. So we'd either mean that he's stationary or that he's tall and strong. Okay? So that'd be the translation here. Adam is like a tree. Okay? So pretty straightforward on meaning of kemo. Kemo, by the way, if any of you have heard the song Mi Chamocha, okay, the chamo in the middle of Mi Chamocha is kemo. It means who is like you, what that phrase means. It's part of the verse. I can't think offhand where it is, but who is like you, O Yahweh, among the gods? Okay. So any questions about kamo or any of the other prepositions? Okay. Prepositions are much easier than adjectives. All right. And adjectives aren't that tough once you get the hang of them, but there's a lot less to remember with prepositions. You just need the meaning, and off you go. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to cover, I didn't manage to print off a vocabulary sheet for this week, but there does, in fact, exist one. So it's online. I'll get it to you next week, but I want to cover all the words that are on that so that everybody physically present is up to date with those two. One of those words is an adjective. Okay. An adjective. And it is Rav, Resh Beit, with a patach under the Resh, Rav. And Rav means much or many, and it can also be used in the sense of great. Yes, this is the origin of the term rabbi. Okay, rabbi would, or rabbi, which would mean, right, Rav, so on and so forth. It means great one. Great one is literally the translation. Rabbi would be Rabbi. Okay, but if you're to say rabbi, so on and so forth, you'd say Rav. Name, insert name here. Yeah, rabbi is an English pronunciation. Yeah, if you were to hear someone refer to what we call a rabbi, okay, in English, it would they'd say, like Rabbi Jonathan, would be Rav Yehonatan, okay, and a lot of times Paul, the author of the New Testament epistles, they'll call him Rav Shaul, okay, because he was in fact a rabbi. But yeah, rabbi is an English thing.
So it's R-A-V that means much.
Yes. Now, this is an adjective, so this is the masculine singular form. Okay. So I'll introduce another noun really quick, so that, and this is a real common phrase. Okay, this is a tav. Vav with a cholam, dalet, the comets, finally a hey. Okay, this is a feminine noun, todah. Okay, todah as a noun means thanksgiving, but you can also say todah to somebody to mean thank you. Okay. So, if we wanted to say thank you much, or thank you very much, okay, we'd have todah first. We know that Rav is our base adjective, but since todah is feminine, we need to make Rav feminine to modify todah. So to do that, we add comets hey. And it so happens that in this case, the bait will also take a dagesh. There are rules governing that, but again, later time for all those technicalities. Okay. If you say rava, I won't hold it against you. Just remember this comets hey. Remember to make it feminine. You're good to go. Okay. So todah rabbah, thank you very much. All right. It's a phrase you'll hear in Hebrew-speaking circles.
This was confusing before because I
That's right.
And that's what was turning
It's
me
because the Dagesh comes and goes depending on how the rules work with that. Okay, if you're getting it in the right form, though, that's what counts. You won't really find a word that means something different with a Dagesh than without a Dagesh. Occasionally you will. Okay, but it'll be a real subtle difference. So yes, feminine form Rabbah. The masculine plural then would be Rabbim, and the feminine plural Rabbot. Okay? So if we were to say many men, okay, Anashim, men, Rabbim. Anashim Rabbim, be many men. Okay? Okay, many houses. Batim, houses. Rabbim, many houses. Many commandments. Mitzvot, commandments. Okay, mitzvot Rabbot, many commandments. It still is a B in all of those cases, yes. So Rav, no, the adjective must come after the noun. Yes. So I'll actually write a few of these out because it helps to keep seeing it again and again. Yes, many waters would be Mayim Rabbim, right. Or even, in that sense, since Mayim could be considered singular, you could even call that great waters. Yeah, Mayim is one of those funny ones because it could go either way. You could use it in the singular, or you could use it in the plural. Like in the phrase Mayim Chayim, living waters. Okay. So, let's see. Okay. So how about many men are coming? Oh, well, I can't do that. Well, yeah, I can. I'll go ahead and do it. Many men are coming to the house. Okay? So many men, Anashim is men. Here, by the way, from the beginner class, you'll note the Chatav Patach under the Aleph. Okay. Okay, so Anashim, Rabbim, many men. Okay, are coming, and I don't remember if I went over this when I went over Ba and Ba'ah, because Ba is the masculine singular, Ba'ah is the feminine singular. Okay, the masculine plural would need to apply here because we have a masculine plural subject. Okay, who's coming? Many men. Okay, so we use the form Ba'im. And this really illustrates the parity with these forms. Anashim, Rabbim, Ba'im. Okay, these ems are repeating and connecting these words in the sentence. Many men are coming to El Habayit. They're only coming to one house, so Bayit will be in the singular. But yes, if they were coming to a collection of houses, they'd be coming to Habatim. Okay? Right. Yes, going might be a better... Well, coming if we're at the house. If we're at the house, then they're coming. But okay. So, Anashim, Rabbim, Ba'im, El Habayit. Okay? Or Ba'im, Anashim, Rabbim, El Habayit. This Ba'im could be over here. as well. And in fact, the ba'im could even be at the very end. Okay, as long as it doesn't interrupt this preposition from the next word, and as long as it doesn't interrupt the adjective. Right. So this coming, though, could appear anywhere else. And actually, I'm starting to use phrases that are where I'm going to start needing to identify which noun is the subject and which is the object. Although I really don't just yet, because this verb can only apply to the plural noun. Okay, you know the houses aren't coming, because first off, they can't. But second, grammatically they can't, because this is a singular house and a plural verb. So this has to be the one doing the coming, is the plural noun here, because it's a plural verb. This all gets a little complicated once we get into the nitty-gritty of this stuff, but it's just using all the rules that we've gone through. Okay, the adjective has to match in gender and in number. Okay, the verb has to match in gender and in number. Okay, we've got an irregular plural on anashim. Okay, so it's kind of, and the preposition el, and our definite article hey. So this is kind of blending everything together in one sentence that we've gone over so far. And these are the things you have to think about as you're constructing your sentences. Okay, is my adjective matching in gender and number? Is my verb matching in gender and number? Okay, so it's just, it takes a lot of effort at first because you have to remember all these forms and kind of work through them, but it becomes second nature, and the parity of the endings tends to help. If you've got an eam somewhere and you want to match it to something else, odds are you're going to use an eam, unless you have an irregular form. Okay. Yes. Yes, aleph, nun, shin, yod, mem. Yes, you'd think it would be ishim, but it's an irregular plural. Okay? All right, how about another example? Let's just change this to many women. Okay, so the plural of women, another irregular, nashim. Okay, so this is irregular, again, for two reasons. Number one, this nun appears out of nowhere. Okay, isha has no nun. Okay, but the plural of isha is nashim. So it's irregular for that reason, and it's irregular because it takes an eem ending even though it's feminine. Okay, so this is still a feminine plural. So if we're to say many women, we still have to use a feminine plural to match. So we use rabot. That's right. So this is where the irregularities get confusing. But again, they are irregular. It's just certain very common words have irregularities like man and woman. Okay, so you'll encounter them frequently. So nashim rabot, many women. Ba'ot, that's right. Again, we have to use the feminine plural of the verb because we have a feminine plural subject, nashim. Okay? And yes, this remains exactly the same. El habayit. Because the El does not change and the bayit isn't changing genders or numbers. It's still a house, regardless of who is coming to it. Now we could add another layer. We could say that they're coming to the big house. If we were to do that, it would be El Habayit. We could use Rav, Harav, okay, the great house, or the big house. Our other word for big or great is Gadol. Okay, so we could say Nashim Rabot, many women. Ba'ot are coming, El Habayit Hagadol, to the big house. Okay, and again, we'd have to say Hagadol because it has to match the definite article on house. Okay, so that would really bring together all of the elements. Okay, so are there any questions about this? I know it's a lot to kind of think through, but are the rules making sense? You can kind of see them in action. No such thing as a bad question at this point because this is where it gets sticky. Okay, but the rules are consistent. It's just a matter of processing them. Okay.
That word for horse, is that sus?
Sus, yes. Sus is the word for horse. Okay. Would anyone like any more examples that help clarify anything, or would it just be more confusing? I know it's a little rough once we start using all the rules together, but we're constructing a meaningful sentence here, finally. Okay, after having all these phrases and kind of fragments of things and just saying, oh, a man is coming, now we're saying, you know, a man that's a certain way is coming in a certain direction, you know, toward a certain object. So we're constructing ever more meaningful sentences that we can actually put into more practical use.
This is biblical Hebrew. Is that the same as modern, this phrase?
The rules would be the same in both, yes. Yeah, and actually,
You said that you wouldn't sound funny.
No, you could say this. You could easily say this in Israel, and they would know what you're talking about. Definitely. As long as they knew what the house was. That might be a little unclear if you're just talking about... Right, yeah. Right, yeah, you'd have to... In order to be, you know, for it to be a kind of good... Yeah, good grammar or good, you know, have clarity to what you're saying, you know, if the house wasn't defined, you'd need to specify what house you're talking about. But yes, this is a grammatically correct phrase. Now, I would probably actually insert one other thing in this, but we'll cover that at another time. I think this is, because of the difference, well, I think this works. Okay, there's one other thing I would put in just to be totally technically accurate, but this would be understood. Okay. All right, well, we'll come back to this and use a few more examples later. I want to cover one other concept. Excellent question. Excellent question. So if you're going to use multiple adjectives to describe one word, what order do they go in? And the answer to that is that adjectives that indicate quantity will come last. Okay? So yes. Okay, so anashim, men. If we were to say righteous men, we could use tzaddik. Okay, and say tzaddikim. Use tzaddik as an adjective. All right, so anashim. Almost slipped there. Yeah, no, there are no righteous anakim, at least none that are recorded. Okay, so anashim, tzaddikim, righteous men. If we want to say many righteous men, we put the term that indicates quantity at the end. So anashim, tzaddikim, rabim. Okay, this would be many righteous men. And if you want a string of adjectives that none of which necessarily indicate quantity, I'm going to actually show how you can do that in just a moment.
Why does the daggers disappear from the bait when you just use it as rod or you just use this for many or much when you
So,
preposition? Why did that daggers disappear?
okay, so why is the dagish there or not there in specific cases?
Was the daggers hidden?
The dagish appears as, okay, just a brief summary of how a dagish works. When a letter appears at the beginning of a syllable, it tends to take a dagish. Okay, so in the case of Rav, the bait is at the end of a syllable, but in Ra beam, it begins the syllable beam. Okay, so that's a general idea of kind of how a dagish functions. There's more to it than that, but
In essence, could you be saying that, what are you saying? That V is never at the end of a Hebrew word?
or that a B rather, that a you'll never find a Hebrew word that ends with a with a letter. You'll never find a dagish at the end of a Hebrew word. That's right. So you'll never find a bait with a dagish, or a kaf with a dagish, or a you will find a tav with a dagish at the end of a word, but in our dialect it doesn't make any difference. So yes, the dagish appears at the beginning of a syllable only. It will not appear at the end of a syllable. But we'll get into that at a future date. At this point, it's easier to memorize words that have it than it is to memorize the rules, because you'll spend, on top of deciphering this entire phrase and getting the gender and number of everything right, then you'll be worrying about how the syllables all break down and where the dots go. And that's just, to me, that's just too much to try to do all at once. But some people perhaps can handle it. But I always got tripped up when I was focused so hard on those little technicalities and missed the bigger picture. So. Okay. So that's many righteous men. Okay, next topic is using the letter Vav as a prefix. Okay, so we all know the letter Vav, okay, which we were pronouncing as a V. The Vav as a prefix means and. Okay, so we'll remember the He as a prefix is the definite article, means the. Okay, so Bayit is a house. And Ha-Bayit is the house. Okay? If we were to say V-Bayit, be part of the phrase, and a house. Okay, so if we had a phrase, eitz v'bayit, yeah, a tree, in fact, yes, eretz would be land, but yes, eitz, okay, this is not a sentence, but just a phrase, just to show you how the vav functions as a prefix, a tree and a house. Okay, so it's directly affixed to the word, and it means and. Okay? You will see this all over the place. The vav is the most common letter in the scriptures. You see a vav more than any other letter. And the reason for that is because it's used as and so many times. And it doesn't always mean and in a absolute sense. Okay, sometimes it's just used as a general conjunction, connecting one idea to another, but perhaps not with the same force as the English word and. If you translated it as and every time, you'd have the whole Torah would be a giant run-on sentence, actually. But like even the book of Leviticus, okay, first word in the book is Vayikra, okay, and he called, okay, so it's the book begins with the word and, which is why you find kind of the funny phraseology in the King James Version. See the ands all over the place. Well, that's where they're taking it from, is these vavs. Okay? So to use it in an actual sentence, and I'll expand a little bit on what's in the notes. So if we were to have a phrase, say, Adam is coming, okay, we could say Adam ba, or ba Adam, either way, Adam is coming. Okay, now suppose that Adam and David were coming. There's two ways we could say that. We could say Adam ba, Adam is coming, and David v'David ba. Okay, so we could say Adam is coming and David is coming. That's one way. Or we could say Adam v'David ba'im. Now, why are we using ba'im? Because we have two now, Adam and David. So we've got a plurality, okay? Got more than one that are coming, so we have to use a verb that corresponds to more than one. We have to use a plural verb, okay? So in this case, it's two different phrases. Adam is coming, so singular verb, and David is coming. Okay, two separate phrases there, but when we combine them, we have to use the correct corresponding verb. Okay? And this can also be used to string adjectives together. So if we were to say,
Question.
yes.
Adam and David, Halayim, when you translate that or wrote that, it would actually be Adam and David are coming?
Yes, that's right. Right, you wouldn't say Adam and David is coming. Okay, you'd say are coming. Right. Yeah, but that's just a question of English grammar, But yeah, is and are, well, English has that separation between singular and plural. We just don't think of it a lot.
Just Adam and David coming.
Right. Yeah, there is no is and there is no are, or there are no are, or there are no is, or however you want to say it, but there is no present tense verb to be in Hebrew. So it has to be, when we translate it, it has to be inserted mentally based on context. Okay? Okay, so stringing adjectives together, suppose we wanted to call a piece of fruit both big and good. We'd say hapri. Well, yeah, well, we'll make it a sentence. So we'll make the fruit definite, and we'll make the adjectives not definite. Okay, hapri, the fruit. Okay, so it is tov. So hapri tov, just as a sentence on its own, would mean the fruit is good. Okay, as part of a greater sentence, okay, if we wanted to say the good fruit, we'd have to say hapri hatov. Okay, but we can say it is good, the gadol. This is kind of a clumsy phrase, though. You won't find this a whole lot, but it can be done. You will find it some, though. I'm thinking of the phrase when they're going to spy the land. This kind of phraseology is used to describe the land some. I can't think of the exact words, but, you know, city's great and fortified, that kind of idea. This is the kind of phraseology that's used. Okay, it's using this and conjunction to string these adjectives together, both describing the same original noun. Okay, so basically the vav functions just exactly the way the English and functions. Okay, although it'd probably be preferred in English to say, well, no, in a sentence you would actually say the fruit is good and big.
Another question, I just don't remember it, but I'm gonna do it. When that vav is used as and, it always has that shavah with it.
Okay, good question. Does the vav always have a shavah under it when it's used as a prefix? The answer is no, but it does very frequently have a shavah underneath it when used as a prefix. You will see other vowels too. Yeah, I'll go over that another time too. You'll also see the other two possibilities, or I think there's actually more than this, but you'll find just a shuruk at the beginning, just an oo sound at the beginning, and you'll also find a patach. And I think you can find just about any vowel, because sometimes the rule is that it matches the vowel that comes right after it. So there's all kinds of variations with the vav. The shavah will be more often than not, though. Okay, but there are very, very few words that begin with a vav. So if you find the vav at the beginning of a word, you can be 90% plus certain that it's the conjunction and. Yes?
And sometimes uva.
That's right. No, oo, it's just oo. Right. Yeah, not uv, but just it actually starts with a vowel sound. Okay, so if you ever hear that Hebrew words can't start with vowel sounds, it's not true.
But
Yes.
is it generally used as the term and also when it's oo?
Yes. Yes, it functions exactly the same way. It's just a matter of it's just like the hey being the definite article. Sometimes the vowel is a patach, sometimes it's a kametz. It doesn't change the meaning. It's just a matter of grammar, a matter of correct grammatical usage. So it means exactly the same thing in either case.
Now, a question.
Yes.
When that vav is doubled in instruction, will it be a double vav there, or just still a single vav? So you said sometimes it's like a oo as a sound, and then sometimes it's and.
Well, I'm saying this vav prefix, which means and, you'll find it with any combination of vowels.
Right.
Okay, so you could find it as a shva, you could find it just as a shuruk.
I was just reaching out there,
Right.
and I had being used as a preposition to connect, but I also was part of the next word.
Okay.
The word that started with
So,
double in
I see. So can it appear in front of a word that starts with a vav? Yes, it will. You'll find a double vav there. Okay. You'll find that very infrequently because there are so few words that actually start with a vav. In fact, one of the only words that starts with a vav is vav. Okay, so if you had you know, if you were going to say and a nail, you'd say vav, which would be 3 vavs in a row. Quite a funny word. I don't think that's found anywhere in the scriptures. So, okay. That would probably be in front of, yeah, that's probably in front of a bait without a dagesh.
I have a different set of transliteration that's in my head.
Right. Okay.
Another question.
Yes.
We have about 2 more weeks to our class, and then we're going to be sliding on into intermediate.
Yes, that's the plan right now, is that the intermediate will stream at 2 and the advanced will stream at 3. So it's not official yet, but
What's in the advanced?
the advanced is basically just a continuation of this. I've gone through some basic grammar with the definite article. Now I've introduced a vav prefix. The next 2 classes I'm going to introduce the rest of the prefixes because there are several more. So you'll have all of those, you know, be introduced to all of those. I've introduced verbs, just the ba verb so far. I've introduced adjectives, prepositions. I'm going to go through pronouns the next 2 weeks also. So we're basically going to cover all the parts of speech and kind of see how they're used, except for verbs, because verbs are the most complicated. So yeah, this is basically covering all the parts of speech, what they are, how they function, and starting to use some examples of that. The advanced would just be a continuation of that, continuing to use those, adding more vocabulary, adding more rules for using specific things, and getting into like using numbers, and there'll need to be a number of continuing advanced classes to cover all the topics, but.
So basically, do the beginner, intermediate, and the advanced is basically the ocean. We just go into it.
Yeah, I wish there were a word that meant, you know, more advanced than advanced, because I'd just keep calling it that. Because you know, there's a lot to cover. Although we're covering this, the intermediate class is covering the bulk of the basics. So when you're done with this, you'll know when you find these words with all these extra vavs and heys and baits and things at the beginning, you'll know what you're looking at, because you'll find that a lot in the scriptures. There's plenty of prefixes and suffixes. So yeah, we won't be able to cover all the suffixes in intermediate, so that'll be a topic for advanced. So, you know, it'll just keep building on what we've got and keep reviewing, you know, keep expanding the vocabulary, because that's, you know, vocabulary is obviously very important for learning the language. So, right, I'm going to have to start renaming them, although I've already conveniently have a nomenclature for that. So, so yeah, the names will probably change a little bit, but so I don't have, you know, crazy names like, you know, post advanced or something like that. So yeah, it's just going to keep continuing on, and like I say, this is the intermediate's introducing kind of a broad view. Okay, here's the parts of speech, and here's basically how they function. And then the advanced is going to start getting into more of the nitty-gritty. You're going to start making more sentences like the ones I showed before and kind of parsing them out. So that's the plan right now. And hopefully within 2 or 3 advanced classes, maybe even before, we can start actually putting some scriptures up here and parsing those out, interpreting those. It's just that there is a lot of basic stuff you need to know before it all makes sense, before you just get a scripture, you know, down and you understand, you know, all the components that are present in that verse. But that is the ultimate goal, is to start, you know, being able to look at verses and translate them. So that's my goal. So, all right. Well, so just to recap, covered the 5 prepositions today. Kamo, which means like. Okay, al, which means upon. Tachat, underneath. El is toward. Min is from. Right? Covered those prepositions, what they mean. And the vav prefix, which means and. Okay, so any questions about anything else before we wrap up? Okay. Yeah, it gets sticky from here on, but I'm going to keep plugging along, keep giving examples, and just keep thinking about it. I encourage you, if you have a Hebrew text, at this point you can start looking at it, and you're not going to understand everything, but you can start piecing together things that you've already seen. You're going to find this vav prefix. You're going to find the hey prefix. You're going to find the similarities in endings. Your vocabulary probably isn't big enough to know all the words yet, but you're going to find this im repeating itself, ot, ah. You're going to see these things. Okay? So I encourage you to do that, and shalom until next week.